Thank you. I'm not used to standing in front of an audience without props, so but I'm not going to do any magic tonight. You can see me making capitalism disappear nightly at the Edinburgh Festival this year. That's not a plug for my show. But I'm going to talk on behalf of the Jewish Socialist Group. I'm also a member and one of the founder members, and set up a website, Facebook page called Jews for Jeremy. Because it's been a momentous year, it's been an eventful year. As we know, it's a year ago that the Tories won an election. Well, they had the biggest party, they had a very small proportion of the electorate voting for them, but they managed to get in by one means or another, possibly through fraud. But I don't hold my breath over whether that election result is going to be overturned. So we've had a lot of things happening since then, of course, and one of the main things that has been part of what we're here about is the campaign to elect Jeremy Corbyn. During that campaign, some of us noticed that one of the weapons that that Jeremy was being attacked on with was an accusation of anti-Semitism. Not always an accusation directly of Jeremy of anti-Semitism. Sometimes it was more subtle than that from the more established figures on the right who were attacking him. They were saying that he wasn't necessarily an anti-Semite himself, but he was working with anti-Semites, and therefore he was acting as an anti-Semite, and he was enabling anti-Semitic people to flourish under his stewardship or within his campaign for the leadership. This clearly was part of an attempt to discredit Jeremy and to prevent him from gaining the leadership. And I knew, and many members of the Jewish Socialist Group knew, and a lot of other Jews knew, that this was a ridiculous accusation to level against Jeremy Corbyn. He has been a supporter of Palestinian rights, but he has by no means ever been anti-Semitic. So that's why we set up the Jews for Jeremy group, which attracted lots and lots of Jews to join it and to express their support for a left candidate in the leadership contest. Now, as the leadership election continued, Jeremy was attacked more and more and harder on this and other questions. And of course, when he was elected, we thought, actually setting up Jews for Jeremy, we thought it would just be a thing to support him during the process of him, going through this election campaign. And after he was elected to the leadership, many of us thought, well, we can lay off now, we can forget about it. And for a while, the attacks on him on this matter began to diminish a little bit. So there was not so much activity on this level. But then we saw during the run-up to the local election campaigns and the London mayoral campaigns and other mayoral campaigns, that this attack began to grow again. It suddenly became much more vicious, much better, much more research was going into it, led by Guido Fawkes and his blog, finding just in the month or so before the local elections, we suddenly saw a lot of people being accused of anti-Semitism and being attacked and the Labour Party being told that anti-Semitism was rife within its ranks. And some of those people are here tonight, those people who were accused of anti-Semitism. And this is basically, the reason for this is because the right was really in a panic now. They wanted to make sure that there was not a good result in the election campaigns. It was stepped up for that campaign, and a lot of people began to believe it. Now, there are a lot of people who have decided that they want to attack Jeremy for different reasons. I don't believe that this is a conspiracy. I don't believe that there is somebody holding the reins of all these people and they're telling them what to do on the right. I think it is a confluence of a number of different groups who have different ideas, different reasons for attacking Jeremy, but they are all working together to bring this attack about. And those groups include obviously the Tory party, who have raised, Cameron has raised this question in Parliament. They include people outside the Labour Party, like the Board of Deputies of British Jews and the Jewish Chronicle, who generally share a sort of right-wing perspective, or a right perspective on these matters, and those on the right within the Labour Party who are keen to change the leadership, if possible before the next election, but if that's not possible, some of them, I believe, would like Jeremy to lose the next election so that they can gain power. And so the whole question, the whole idea of using anti-Semitism has grown in strength. Primary target is the left, and anti-Semitism over the past few months has become the primary weapon in this attack on the left. That's not to say that there is no anti-Semitism on the left or in the Labour Party. There is, of course. In an organisation of 500,000 people, it would be absurd to think that there wasn't any anti-Semitism. But I believe I've been in the Labour Party actually since Jeremy was elected. But I've been active as a member of the left for 30 or 40 years, and in that time I have encountered very little anti-Semitism. What anti-Semitism I've encountered has not generally come from the left, it's come from the right. But anti-Semitism is a very useful weapon, it's a magical weapon. Because, and I know this because I'm a magician, it's a magical weapon because it works in all sorts of ways. If you accuse somebody of anti-Semitism in the current climate, then the accusation is enough. You don't need much proof. The accusation is enough to prove that they are anti-Semitic. And if they deny it after having been accused of being anti-Semitic, that's further proof that they're anti-Semitic. If somebody else comes and says that they are not anti-Semitic, then that person is obviously anti-Semitic. And so it goes on. If I tell you that my cat is not anti-Semitic, then that proves that both I and my cat are anti-Semitic, even though I'm Jewish and I don't have a cat. So So there is obviously some anti-Semitism, but the way in which this is being used is not centrally about anti-Semitism. And one of the groups that I didn't mention, which I should have, is that is orchestrating, that is part of this campaign, are people who support Israel, and they have a very strong they have very strong reasons to oppose Jeremy, who has supported Palestinian rights. In fact, they also opposed Ed Miliband when he supported Palestine wishing for statehood, and there were strong attacks on Ed Miliband as him being anti-Semitic, despite the fact that he was Jewish. I could go on, but I'm not going to go on very much longer. But I want to just talk about one of the things that has happened today, which maybe other people will bring up as well. And that is, it demonstrates really what this is all about. Because when Ken Livingstone made his remarks about Zionism, which I think were actually unfortunate. I think they were not the wisest thing to say, although the way in which they have been attacked is pretty ahistorical. But they were offensive to many people. But he was replaced as the candidate for the Labour Party NEC by Rhea Wolfson. And Rhea Wolfson has been supported by Momentum. She also gained support from the JLM, the Jewish Labour Movement. I'd like to say a little bit about them just shortly before I finish. But what's happened today is, because she is a left candidate, and she is the only Jewish candidate for the National Executive Committee, but she is a left candidate, and therefore the right of the Labour Party, Progress, has blocked her from standing for the National Executive Committee. Despite the fact that she's Jewish, despite the fact that actually she is a sort of liberal Zionist, but she has been blocked because she is on the left, and it is important for Progress, it is important for them to gain control of the National Executive Committee. So they have accused her of being associated with anti-Semitism because she is associated with Momentum. It's again guilt by association, and it doesn't matter where it stops. It doesn't matter how illogical it is. You can see from this that the central point, the central perspective is to block the left and try to gain right-wing control of the Labour Party and the National Executive Committee. That trumps any question of whether somebody's Jewish or whether they're a Zionist or any of those sorts of things. So, that I think that really does clarify why what is going on here. It's basically an attack from the right on the left in order to gain control of the party and ensure that if a Labour government is elected, that it is a right Labour government on the one hand, that it will, for some people, that it is a government that will support Israel and will not support the Palestinians, and basically it is an attack on Jeremy Corbyn. I'll finish there. Maybe at a later stage I'll talk about some other initiatives. Thanks.
Thank you.